March 2024 was a real warning sign for Sword Online Integral Factor, with no significant improvement from the disastrously low February performance, breaking its good trend. Fractured Daydream got some spotlight with the Alternative Gun Gale Online Season 2 anime stage, and Variant Showdown shared some screenshots from development, leaving you to ponder about the new upcoming features. Welcome SAO survivors to Dead Game Report for March 2024, featuring Integral Factor, Variant Showdown, and Fractured Daydream. And welcome back to the fancy space train! Honkai Star Rail is the sponsor of this video with its version 2.1 update, featuring the first anniversary celebrations. Start your journey now with over 30 charming and unique characters by hopping aboard the space train on PC, PS5 or mobile devices as you see fit, and play with your friends wherever via cross-platform gameplay, or return for the anniversary celebrations with two new characters, Acheron and Aventurine. Acheron arrives as a lightning-type Nihility character. She may be shrouded in mystery, but her huge burst damage potential is not. Aventurine, on the other hand, is a very expressive and flamboyant gentleman. The imaginary type preservation character is just as generous in his personality as he is in his gameplay, specializing in stacking group shields on allies. Don't be fooled by his carefree attitude though, he can be quite bold and is willing to take the chances when the opportunity shows itself. In the new update, tons of events await you with equal rewards. Cosmodicy, a daily dice throwing event that gives you chances for rewards. The Clock Studios theme park, a new map filled with unique interactive activities with famous characters. Vignettes in a cup, embrace your inner drink connoisseur. Mixed drinks for monsters and enter their inner worlds. And the shrinking gameplay expansion where you can now equip a missile launcher while playing as the shrunken Hanu. I mean, firing rockets everywhere, what else can you want? Use my code in the description or simply just scan the QR code to download Honkai Star Rail to join the festivities, and use these codes for 50 Stellar Jade each to help you on your space epic. A 7-day login bonus granting you 20 free pulls will further boost you, among other things like free 1600 Stellar Jades, returning fan favorite characters Luocha and Jingliu, and new maps, new gameplay experiences, and a lot more. Use my code now to hop aboard the space train. Now back to our topic, Integral Factor. The lack of content is finally starting to catch up to Integral Factor. In February, I complained about the lack of a Valentine's Day event, causing the month to be overrun with nothing but rerun events, leading to a lackluster month in performance, but that was always the case with February when it came to Integral Factor for the previous 2 years as well. Not something to be glossed over, yeah, but something to be expected at this point. But in March, we always saw a recovery from that dip. In 2024, however, that recovery did not happen. From popularity rank 380 in February, March dropped further down to rank 400 and only managed to edge out February revenue thanks to the 2 additional days in the month. And furthermore, the beginning of March was actually boosted by the arrival of a new full-sized floor story continuing the main campaign. This is clearly not a good sign for the game, which at the time of writing, April 9th, is bleeding into April as well, as the month started even lower despite the great April Fool's story release. Let's have a look at the calendar and identify the good and the bad. At the tail end of February, we had the Floor 17 release as a full-sized floor story alongside the Rune Blade Order with Koharu, Shilika, Shinon, and Alice. It was a decent start to the month, declining slowly from around rank 300 to 400, and I say decent in quotes if we compare it to February, but February was a bad month anyways. March 6 brought an event rerun, the White Day Assault, from the very first year of service for Integral Factor. This arrived to the global version of the game for the first time, as the initial run was before global even launched. Naturally, while great for the global side of things, this was not particularly interesting for Japan. It was still a respectable climb to almost rank 300 again, but the Japanese crowd quickly lost interest. March 7 started the Happy Birthday Dungeon with Agiel campaign for his birthday, of course, for some nice gems, and a day after, Agiel birthday banner with 2 new skills. I love it when less popular side characters get spotlighted, but the reality is, I admit they are not the most interesting for the business side. So, if the skills themselves are nothing too special in terms of their effects, their banners do kinda end up becoming trivial. And as you can see, that the Agiel birthday banner and dungeon basically has no effect on the chart that can be attributed to anything beyond New week, let's check what is there this time around. Usual recovery, and within the next 3 days, dipping below rank 400. I am not at all sure what happened on the 10th and 11th though. There were no new releases or updates, just a random popularity spike there. This is one of those times I wish I had some internal data to see which activities players participated in on those specific 2 days. Genuinely curious. Weekly update on March 13 brought the game back up from rank 450 into low 300s, which is certainly thanks to the Asuka collaboration banner featuring Alice and Asuna inspired by Asuka album covers, and Kirito and Asuka's skill alongside the Alicization boss rush event, which I imagine the Japanese version once again had an Asuka song playing in the background, while us in the West, we had the normal in-game BGM. There was also a 6th anniversary login bonus with lots of rewards, so at the very least, that was a huge reason to just log in, even if you didn't do anything else. A Head Start order also launched on the 13th in an attempt to onboard new players into the game, but it's not quite possible to gauge how much of an effect it had. The chart for the rest of March is incredibly wonky, but if I had to guess, it was not particularly successful considering the overall trend feels below average anyways, and the chart we have already consists of 2 below average months on their own. All in all, the rest of the week slumped like never before here, almost reaching the low rank of 550th. With the next weekly reset, we had a level cap increase, which honestly makes me very suspicious here. I'm genuinely curious whether they had it planned already beforehand, or if this was a sudden decision to recoup some player engagement, as hardcore players are bound to grind for the next max level. I doubt they can make such quick decisions, but again, makes me curious. But aside from that, we also had the Exotic Guard order featuring Argo, Shinon, Agil, and Koharu. I really think this was a filler order trying to take advantage of the fact that Argo, Agil, and Shinon were in the spotlight thanks to the Fractured Daydream beta at the time. Probably would have been slightly better if it launched the previous week, wrapping itself around the beta test, but I digress. But yeah, the level cap increase and the order itself led to a short spike for 2 to 3 days. On the 25th, we got the 6th anniversary Grand Order with huge drop rate increases that started picking up from the Valley, and this followed by the Guild Strategy event. Integral Series material drop rate increase starting on the 27th finally picked the game back up above average once more, but seemingly could not maintain it. The Philia birthday banner on the 30th sadly only had a minimal effect as the game finished the month below average as well. The 31st saw the release of the new April Fool's story and a beautiful new banner featuring Kirito, Shinon, Sanya, and Koharu, but that is the topic of April performance. It is not factoring into this chart. But I'll give you a sneak peek. The first 9 days of April, the game is very much sailing even below March at the moment of writing. And as I mentioned earlier, the lower popularity is also reflected in the revenue, with the March revenue barely above that of February that had 2 days less to account for in comparison. On the Steam side, Integral Factor actually had about a 10% gain of players over February, but I'd account that to the abysmal mid-February performance on PC. And all in all, the primary data is the Japanese side anyway, so I would still take the low performance in March quite seriously here. Now, as an outside observer, I have 2 takeaways at the moment, and I will be looking forward to solidify them in April. 1. The interest in the main story is waning due to a lack of a meaningful story progression. Whenever I play the stories, I still enjoy them a lot as they have incredible character moments in Integral Factor, clearly written by people who know the series and understand the characters well. However, it has been 1.5 years since chapter 2 of the story began with Rano and Notte. We have only just started exploring our villains in the previous 2-3 main floor stories, while the smaller floor stories not even contributing to anything but setting up side characters that are barely ever used again. I'm all for establishing more characters, more sceneries, and teasing more mysteries, but This is the same problem United Ring is having at this very moment in the light novels, where the interest in the series is at an all-time low because people feel like they are drowning in mysteries of a story that is failing to move forward. The fact that every single story that releases ends with a vague cliffhanger that does not get resolved is just causing more and more frustration that applies to both the light novels right now as well as Integral Factor. We need some meaningful progress on the main story narrative, because the waning interest in the story is visible just from these monthly stats. Every new story, even event stories, used to be festive holidays in Integral Factor, but nowadays, with every single release, just less and less people are tuning in. The fact that even having Asuna and Yuki together on the poster image doing a double Mother Rosario, not being able to touch that rank 200, and then not being able to maintain the interest for a single day, immediately dropping back down to below 300, that is a clear sign. And secondly, the banners themselves, because at the end of it, this is a gacha game that stays alive with its gacha. The birthday banners were being used to replace regular banners for a while now in the game. The harsh truth is that lower tier side characters are not popular enough to carry banners successfully. Egil, despite being from the main series and progressive, or Philia, despite being one of the more popular SAO game characters, cannot garner interest or sell banners on their own. I'll be checking the effect of the LLENN and Yu-Gi-Oh banners as I'm editing to evaluate very popular characters, so we can, talk about more of that in the next month. But as things stand, in my opinion, looking from the outside without any internal data, lower interest characters are better off utilized as free skill giveaway opportunities, for example, instead of taking up an original banner space, especially if the skill effects themselves are going to be generally lackluster anyways. I mean, the game clearly has no issues completely ignoring birthdays when it wants to. This year, they decided to completely ignore the existence of Eiji, who had his birthday just before LLENN and Yu-Gi-Oh, despite the fact that Eiji is a more popular character than Philia or Egil. You considered him to be unable to sell a banner and thus didn't have anything for him, wanting to, solely focus on LLENN and Yu-Gi-Oh this week, so you clearly label certain characters to be lesser in a vague sense. Fine, and totally understandable if that's the case. But I think SAO Integral Factor needs to do this more and do this a bit more strategically. What if we had an Eiji birthday dungeon right now alongside LLENN and Yu-Gi-Oh with a free Eiji skill at the end of the reward track? People would be logging in every day, that's a semi-popular character, with a free skill to grab. The first problem, the story aspect, is a big picture solution that's needed there. That should absolutely be a strategic priority, but it's been glossed over for so long that a big strategic decision needs to be made hastily right now to fix things regarding the Chapter 2 situation. Whereas re-evaluating how to approach birthdays and quote-unquote filler gacha is a valuable operation consideration that needs to be made. Throughout these 6 years, I have almost always spoken about Integral Factor with the best praises. Very free-to-play friendly, amazing story, great character moments, beautiful art, and all of those still hold true. I will still continue to vouch for Integral Factor as a game with all the voice I have. However, I am also a business student here. I studied management and economics for my bachelor's, graduating from strategic management and innovation master's later this year. I am not naive enough to think that being a good game is enough for a live service, sadly. A live service needs to perform to be kept alive, and do not get me wrong, Integral Factor is nowhere near Unleash Blading situation right now, but Unleash Blading reached its doom by ignoring every single warning sign they were given, so out of touch with its community. Integral Factor was admittedly slow at addressing concerns at times, especially in its first 2 years of service, but Integral Factor was never out of touch with the community it had. They obviously know their state much better than I do, looking at basic information from the outside, but I do hope they are interpreting the data correctly as they have previously many times. I really do not want to see Integral Factor ignore its own warning signs like Unleashed Blading did. Moving on to Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. Nothing too big here. We had the beta test, of course, which is quite large in and of itself, but I have an entire review on the beta test, so if you're interested in that one, I talked all about it there and won't repeat myself in this video. So aside from the beta, about 2 weeks ago, we had the SAO Alternative Gun Gale Online Anime Season 2 stage at Anime Japan, and aside from another teaser trailer for Season 2 of the anime, we also received a trailer for Fractured Daydream featuring the announcement of LLENN as well as Fukaziroh. In the story, the two get tangled up in the Galaxy update situation in Alfheim Online, and while the exact circumstances are unclear as to why they show up in the ALO in the first place, or rather, you know, whatever Galaxia really caused that allowed this, considering we're getting Quinella, Yu-Gi-Oh, Oberon, etc. as well. And they have to start working with the winners of the third Bullet of Bullets, referring to Shinon and Kirito, or likely just Shinon, since we see them together in the trailer. Japanese does not have plurals in that sense. LLENN is a rogue type character, same as Argo. That means a very agile moveset and added mobility, fitting for a little run and gun pink bunny with her SMG and knife skills, of course. Fukaziroh, on the other hand, just shows how much these characters can be different from their Fatal Bullet counterparts. She is a ranger, same as Shinon, but she functions completely differently with her right-Tanya and left-Tanya grenade launchers. And her skills, making her hop up and rain down the mortar cannons, throwing giant bombs and the like, she really feels like a wonky and fun character to play as compared to the otherwise rather grounded Fatal Bullet skill sets. It's kind of a shame that just because they wanted to showcase GGO characters in a GGO setting in the trailer, people are kind of sour towards the game because how it looks the same as Fatal Bullet, when literally nothing the characters did in the trailer was similar to Fatal Bullet at all. Even the sliding down with the SMG skill of LLENN had additional attacks appended to it. It was completely different, especially with the skill sets available. Either way, I'm already very excited about Fractured Daydream as is from my time in the beta, and cannot wait to get my hands on the full game when it releases. Especially LLENN looks like she'll fit my playstyle perfectly, alongside Argo, of course. Variant Showdown! Nothing much, to be honest. No in-depth dev update this time around. Takeuchi P instead has given us 6 screenshots from their development build. The first shot is giving us a really nice look of the UI overhaul in-game. On the top right, we now have the auto battle toggle. If you look at the boss HP bar, it now has clear segments. In fact, most bosses in the original game had HP thresholds as well, but if I remember correctly, your only tell was the boss changing its own pattern. So if these are pattern change thresholds, we now have a more reliable way of knowing when to expect something new. The actions buttons do look generally larger with a slightly different formation that looks to be more suited to thumb actions on a phone screen rather than the old rigid structure it had. And we also have this target accuracy like button on top, which I imagine is a camera lock button maybe? And to the left, it appears we have a chat button. I wonder if that is preset quick chat availability, which would likely indicate a co-op function, as I had been speculating about since the previous dev update, with the home screen seemingly hiding a button that I imagine was the guild function. I guess we'll have to wait for next month. Next shot is quite similar, but now we're in the awakening mode. You can see that an additional button is there, which I imagine is the finisher move, but the awakening bar below has a third row now. We know the first bar is the character HP and the second bar is the remaining awakening gauge, but the third blue bar? No clue, honestly. The third shot, I imagine, is a custom screen after you use your awakening finisher to fancily announce your total damage dealt during the awakening period. It's neat, but could get too repetitive over time. I'm hoping we can toggle it on and off. Fourth shot, mission complete screen, I don't see anything new here. Fifth shot is the result/reward screen. We had seen a glimpse of this in the earlier updates as well. The notable thing here is the bond rank, which we have seen previously as well. We currently don't know what the bond rank does, whether it's just a vanity stat or if there'll be additional benefits. I really like the Fate Grand Order's approach to bond ranks, and I think Variant Showdown can learn something out of that. It unlocks custom dialogue for characters in the profile screen, and it unlocks mini character events that you can complete to boost some skills or noble phantasms, which are the ultimate skills in that game of individual characters and the like. So I'm hoping it will at least be more than just a vanity thing. Even additional customization options would be neat, for example, like when you max out the bond rank, give Kirito additional custom swords, Night Sky and Blue Rose, Night Sky and Red Rose, Alo Sword and Excalibur, and that kind of stuff. As for the final last shot, it just seems to be Gleam Eyes in the boss room. The pillars around the room that could get annoying during battles have been removed, but if I remember correctly, it's been quite some time honestly. They removed those a month or two before the maintenance period began anyways upon feedback, so aside from that I don't see anything new in this one either. And that means we're at the end of the Dead Game report. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one with April data and news. Until then, stay cool.